Welcome to Staffing Stories, hosted by Andy Moss. Andy has been in the staffing industry for over 25 years, first as a recruiter, then eventually an account manager and business owner. This is the podcast where we sit down with fellow staffing owners to get the real stories of the successes, the failures, and the lessons learned along the way.
Hey, thank you for tuning into Staffing Stories, and I have a great guest today, and I'm excited to introduce Vijay Khatnani. And when I think of success in staffing, I think of you, and I'm glad that you're coming on, and hopefully we're going to have a great conversation. Welcome to the Staffing Stories, Vijay.
Hey, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. Just for those that aren't aware of you, can you kind of introduce yourself and just your company?
Sure. Vijay Khatnani. I'm one of the partners at J2 Solutions. We're a IT staffing firm that focuses on project delivery, which means project managers, program managers, business analysts, software development. And this year we started the practice around data. So data analysts, data scientists, and data engineers, all in the Fortune 1000 space.
Well, I'm sure you're like most of the organizations right now, staffing. You're busy as all get out and trying to keep up with it.
That's an understatement. Business has been good. It's been nuts, good and bad.
Yeah.
It is definitely an employee market still, even though we've seen changes in the employment stuff. But it's hard to keep up with all the changes in the marketplace right now.
Well, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, there's a lot of stress in business as an owner when things are bad. But I said, you know what? When things are really good, there's a lot of stress, and I'll take this stress over the bad stress, but I don't think you ever get away from it.
You don't, right? And especially in staffing where you're doing both sides, right? So you'll have, there'll be times when, like in this market, where clients are just hiring like crazy, but you can't get enough folks to staff those positions. And then, when the market changes, the clients aren't hiring, but there's tons of talent available. It's never the seesaw is never level.
Yeah, that's
right?
a great
one way or the other.
That is a great way of saying it. The seesaw is never level.
Yeah, which is a shame.
I know, but it's our business. We signed up for this, and I know with me, I've lost a couple of hairs over my lifetime, and it's I think you can relate, but it's a fun business. It gets in your blood, but with blood, it's you're doing business with your brother, and I think that's probably where the J2 comes from. But just walk me through kind of working with the family member, how that is, and maybe how it came to be.
It's what everybody says that's gonna be the worst idea ever, but it's actually worked. It works really well for us. We split responsibilities. He is in charge of sales and recruiting, and I'm in charge of all the operational side. But being one of the partners, I still do business development. But then I punt it out to him to go close the deal and staff it and all that stuff. We are 50-50. We started the business in 2002. And the way we break a tie is whoever's in charge of that function gets the third vote. Right.
Okay.
So if it goes really well, you get the kudos. If it gets messed up, you get to go fix it. And that's the rule. Like I said, we've been around. This year's 20 years for us, and we've played by that playbook ever since, and it's worked out great. And there are times where we butt heads, but like I said, the third vote is whoever owns that function.
Picking a partner is like picking a spouse almost, and having a good business. I was lucky enough to have great business partners, and I've heard war stories of bad business partners, but it's good when you kind of have that family member that you know what buttons to push and what buttons not to push. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's a great partnership. He is really good at the sales and the recruiting side, and I'm really good analytically and operationally, so it works out really well.
Awesome. So I know something that I've really found interesting with your company is just you really focus in on relationships with your clients.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of my thought is all about the client and what we can do to they don't do business with my company. They kind of do business with me because of that. And I really think you think that as well. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that approach to sales and relationships?
Yeah. So we've built our entire company on relationships. I mean, both Sanjay and I are firm believers in it. We do very, very little marketing. We're starting to do a marketing push now, but in the last 20 years, we've done very, very little marketing. It's been word of mouth. We've followed CIOs to different companies, to different states. We had one leave Pennsylvania, went to Seattle, took us with us there. Then went to Louisiana, took us there. We've had even CIOs locally here. That one was at a newspaper and then a transportation company, and we followed them around because of the relationships we form, right? And for us, it's more about the relationship and the job that we do as opposed to chasing the dollar, right?
Yes.
Even though we are a staffing company, we're not sitting there taking orders. We're trying to understand what the client is trying to accomplish. And both Sanjay and I come from a Big Five consulting background, so we bring some of that consultative approaches to even staffing for them. And we treat a lot of even though it's staffing, we treat a lot of it like we would a project, right? So we try to understand what is the end result. Like, a client says, just give me a .NET developer. Chances are we're going to have a conversation about why do you need a .NET developer and what's the project. So that also helps us sell consultants on the project, as opposed to, here's 5 .NET developers, go pick one and we're good to go. We don't play that game.
Yeah, you're not going to be order taker like going through a drive-through.
Correct.
So coming up with the right solution for a client is key.
Yep.
And sometimes the solution is not to use staffing and or the staffing type model. It's looking at something else.
Correct.
Do you see that sometimes where you almost talk yourself out of a job almost as much as talking in?
We do. We've gone to clients and said, look, this is not a fit for us. This is not what we do. Here's our niche. This is what we focus on. So that works out really well. And sometimes what the client is trying to accomplish, we tell them up front, like, this is not the approach that you should be taking. Like I said, we do the consultative approach with them. And we've had clients call us up and ask us to define stuff for them as well. This is what a client might be looking for. And we're like, yeah, you're missing the boat on this, this, and this. And, they pivot a little bit because of the trust that we build and the relationships that we have with them.
That's it. If you had to talk to a young owner of a business or a young owner of a staffing, group is year 2 into it, think back to when you first got into this business. What are some do's and don'ts that you can kind of think of that come to mind?
Oh man, that's a great question. So let me back up a little bit. Right? So when we started in 2002, we weren't doing staffing. We started doing process improvement for the SMB space.
Okay.
Because we came out of Big Five and we noticed that in the SMB space, there was nobody doing process improvement. So we started doing that. And then the 08, 09, 10 market hit that everybody complains about. Yeah. And clients were like, look, my technology, I understand that my processes are inefficient, but my technology is broken. So fix my technology. And that's how we got into staffing. We were great operationally, but knew very little about technology, and we weren't in that space. We didn't want to be in that space, but clients kept pushing us towards it. So that's how we pivoted into staffing, right? Knew very little about it, but again, built great relationships. Clients trust us. And then we also pivoted from being in the SMB space to moving into more of the mid-market and enterprise level clients as well. Okay. So advice I would give somebody who's starting out, don't lose heart. It's hard. Build a reputation. Don't be that guy that says yes to everything. When we first started the business in 2002, we did everything. Like, there was very little we said no to. I think that hurt us. And that includes networking, right? We haven't talked about that yet, right? But if you're going to build a great relationship, you've got to network and go out and meet people. We would say yes to every single meeting, no matter what it was about, just to get our name out there. Yeah. And you take the focus away. You lose focus when you do that, which I think is key, right? Find a niche, play that niche, and don't be everything to everybody, because you can't satisfy people that way.
Well, that's, great advice. And I think back, some of the most successful firms that I talk to and I know are all niched into a particular field that they're, experts at.
Right.
and they're not a generalized firm that does everything. And that's great advice. And so if you're listening out there, find what you do well and stick with it, and don't stray from it. It's that's where money's made.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's massive staffing firms that do everything,
Yep.
but they're broken up by division and departments, and they have experts in those particular areas.
Yep.
Right.
So
be an expert at what you do.
Also, like, you're part of EO, which I've been a part of as well, and I've got different groups that come to these ownership groups and get some great advice. Has EO been, give us a little bit of spiel about that with some of the other staffing companies that are out there seeking that group like that?
Yeah, so EO's been great. I mean, I've been a member since 08, 09 timeframe. Like right when we hit $1 million, we qualified and I joined right away. And some of the advice that we got was really, really simple but impactful, right? So as business owners, we tend to be control freaks, right? So one of my earlier advices was go hire an admin. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Well, what's an admin going to do that I can't do? This is going to slow me up, right?
Yeah.
But you don't think about how much time and space that opens up for you to be able to go do what you're supposed to be good at and not do that, right? So advice as simple as that can have tremendous impact on your business. The fact that EO allows you to have a forum, or for lack of a better word, a mastermind group that becomes your board of directors, kind of to give you, not so much tell you what to do, but share their experiences in the same situation that you're in now, that they might have been in the past, is invaluable.
Well, it's if you're looking for some like other owners that have been there, done that, and you want that experience around you, that's what I was seeking. And there are groups out there that you could seek out and find that.
There are, and entrepreneurship can be lonely, but there are other people that are in it just the way you are. You just got to go out and find them. And organizations like EO, and I believe, Andy, you talked about C2 that you're a member of. Organizations like that are great place to find like-minded people.
Yep. And I would encourage staffing owners to seek that out, especially if you're struggling in good times and bad times. Sometimes success brings, like I said, stress, and you want to bounce ideas off, and you can't sometimes walk down the hall and grab your recruiter and say, hey, let me run something by you. What do you think? It's not like that in our world. So you kind of have to, I've always said there's smarter people than me in the room, and you just have to be willing to ask.
Yep. A recruiter down the street, down the road, and down the hallway is not going to help you solve your payroll problem.
No, not at all. Not at all. So another thing that I know you have a hobby with I guess a hobby addiction is to cigars and whiskey. And I'm a whiskey guy. So I want to hear your stories around that.
Well, I wouldn't say addiction, because there are times when I just stop doing it and take a break and clean my palate out. As far as the whiskey goes, selfishly, a few years back when I was getting into bourbons, I have a bunch of friends that are in that space and like love bourbons and have phenomenal collections. So I talked them into doing a small group tasting and have them all bring crazy bourbons, and we talked about it, and that grew into a bourbon and cigar networking event.
Okay.
Where and it's people from all walks of life. I have people that are government employees to they run multi-billion-dollar companies that show up to my cigar tastings and my bourbon tastings, and the rule is everybody brings a bottle, right? So you get to taste a variety of stuff, and it's networking. That's what it's turned into. Like I said, I have government employees, and I have high-end lawyers who show up and just because of the love of bourbon or cigars. I have folks that show up that just like cigars and don't like whiskey, and they want to network. And I have folks that like whiskey and don't like cigars and just want to network. A couple of people even bring bottles of wine, and I'm like, it's a brown liquor night. Like, well, we hate whiskey and we like wine, so okay.
Well, I think
again, it's about forming that relationship, right? So
you're good at it. That's why you are what you are, and your business is what it is. It's the relationships and thinking outside the box, and having it's not like a hard sell to somebody. You have like a median area that you kind of come together
Yeah.
and the walls are down, and you can kind of build that relationship.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. It's a great way to do that.
Well, hey, this has been great information. I'm glad you've come on and, talked to us a short bit. It's been a real pleasure, but any last, words of wisdom to anybody out there? Just somebody told you something over the years that you want to pass on?
Look, it's, let's see. I write a weekly blog, and my blog this time around is about dating, right? So staffing is a lot like dating, right? You got to put your best foot forward every single day.
I love that.
So that's what I would tell people, is like, put your best foot forward every day.
Good job.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot for being on our Staffing Stories podcast today.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you having me on.
All right.
Bye.
The Staffing Stories podcast is brought to you by 3DIQ, founded by recruiters for recruiters. 3DIQ's industry-leading product suite complements your submission process in Bullhorn from start to finish and helps you deliver a cutting-edge customer experience. Triple your placements with our powerful resume submission platform, candidate marketing, and client portal. Visit 3diq.com/stories to learn more.